All right, welcome to the Sharp Mind Show, episode 107. I'm Nate, the Fit Future MD, your host, the owner of InserSale.com, where 30,000 people have chosen to become customers of InserSale, and we hope that you become the next one. So if you like inspirational messages on t-shirts, be sure to check out InserSale.com. All right. And so today's episode, we're talking about escaping the 9 to 5 trap. Okay. So 9 to 5 has been getting a bad rap lately, especially with all the layoffs that have been happening, especially in tech. Everyone thought that, you would go to school and get a degree in computer science, and uh, there would be so many jobs out there, just waiting on you. And now you see that um, basically these big tech companies have replaced you with AI, um, and just kept the senior developers and stuff like that. Um, but, not liking a 9 to 5 job and going into business are like two separate things, right? Because basically, a 9 to 5 job, you're just there 8 hours and you get to go home and you get to chill for most jobs, right? Obviously, there's like general managers and stuff like that that are never really off work, right? But when you start thinking about a business, your business is 24/7, right? I got ads running for InterSale 24/7, so orders are coming in 24/7. It's the only way to sell 10 million t-shirts is to have ads running all over the world, you know, that kind of thing. But basically, you change your mindset from that of a worker to that of an owner, right? And so it's not that 9 to 5 is bad, it's just that it's limited, right? You're trading time for money and your income is capped, right? So true freedom comes from ownership and comes from leverage, right? And so um, people always ask, how do you get rich? And they'll give you the long term formula. The long term formula is to invest part of what you make over a long period of time and let it compound, and you'll be rich, right? But what people really want to know is how to get rich right now, fast, right? And so that's what I'm going to tell you, um, right now. And right now, so I own a company called InstraSale, right? And if we make $1 per t-shirt and sell 1 million t-shirts this year, or 10 million t-shirts this year, then we will make $10 million or $1 million, right? And so that's becoming rich this year, right? And so that is why we want to um, start a side hustle or have a business, or versus a 9 to 5, where 9 to 5. So even the richest of the 9 to 5 CEOs in the world, and there's only like, say there's 500 of them, right? Whereas there's millions of business owners, right? So um, it's just which one gets you there easier. And trust me, neither path is really easy, right? So, keep that in mind. Um, but employees think, how do I get paid more? And, an owner thinks, how do I create value at scale, right? So, how do I put an inspirational message that says faith, uh, family, finance, and fitness on a shirt? And then what's the order look like? So, um, because that's what InstaSale is about, right? InstaSale is about faith, family, fitness, and finances, right? And so it's one of the reasons I do this show, is because I'm here to help you do that, right? So it's basically, how do you go from thinking like an employee to thinking like an owner? Well, number one is mindset, skill set, habits, right? So number one, you have to believe that you can do it. You have to believe that you have the ability, right? So the number one thing that I tell people to do is when I'm doing life coaching, is I tell them, look for somebody that's done it before. And are they better than you? Right. And sometimes people come back and say, yeah, that person's way better than I'll ever be, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, keep looking. Eventually you find someone that made it and you're like, this bonehead made it, right? Well, if this bonehead can make it, so can I, right? And so you can see that with the guy from Nike. Like, if you ever watch that movie, like, this guy's a bonehead, you know, so you can clearly say, like, okay, well, if this guy can make it, so can I. What did he do? What skills did he have? He basically had a guy that could make shoes and he made a business off that guy, right? Like, and so, and then he recruited somebody big, Michael Jordan, to blow up his company, right? And so Nike was doing okay in running, but they definitely weren't getting the sales that they were getting before Michael Jordan, right? So, but basically, so you got the mindset, like you believe you can do it. You've looked and see somebody else has done it. All right. So then it's the skill set. So I wanted to have a t-shirt brand. I wanted to have my own clothing. It's like, why am I paying thousands of dollars a year to own clothing? Um, and then these clothing brands don't represent what I believe, right? Faith, family, fitness, and finance, right? They don't represent what I'm trying to do in life. And so that's why I made InterSale. One of the reasons, like I say, I was walking to a beach shop, right? I'm like, God, why? You know, I'm sitting there like, God, why? I just finished my second year of med school, trying to pass a test, and I have no car, no money. I'm walking to a beach shop, right, where they press T-shirts, where stuff like that, and I'm like, why? Why am I doing this? And then all of a sudden, click. It's like, okay, this is what you want me to do. You want me to be something different, and so, InterCell was born walking 2 miles to a beach shop every day because I had no car, had no money, had no nothing. Right, started with nothing. So what could I lose, right? And so that's how InterCell started. But eventually I got other jobs and moved up and all that kind of stuff. So I still had a 9 to 5 job, still have a 9 to 5 job, but I have this side hustle of InterCell, trying to get it to go where I want it to go, right? But you become so mindset and your skill set you're working on. So at that beach shop, I learned the skill set at the beach shop. I learned the skill set of clothing, right? And so God put me in the position that I wanted that He wanted me to be in to learn, right? So faith, you know, I walked to that beach shop faithfully every day, knowing that I was never going to make an income from that beach shop, but I was learning an invaluable skill, which was, branding, advertising, T-shirts, location, that kind of stuff, right? So, so mindset, skill set, right? And so I learned that skill set there. So I needed to be able to learn to do Facebook ads, Snapchat ads, TikTok ads. I needed to be able to, negotiate prices. I need to be able to make a website, um, learn how to open a business. Believe it or not, I have an MBA, and MBA never taught you how to open a business, which is interesting. It taught you how to run it. So, but anyway, that being said, so there's things that you can go for. You can go for, escaping the 9 to 5 job, you own a business, or you can go escape for the 9 to 5 job and you have investments that cover you, right? And so I prefer to do both, right? So one doesn't work out, you got the other one, you know, but they say that you should only concentrate on one. I'm not a big believer in that, right? So, um, you put all your eggs in one basket and the basket has a hole in it, you know, you don't have any eggs in the basket. So you don't eat. So you need to eat at least. So my active income is from my job, right? And so I pay my bills. feed my family, the whole the whole 9 yards from active income or from a job, right? And so just because you have this side hustle doesn't mean that you don't do 100% level work at your job, right? So you're not sitting there saying, okay, well, this job doesn't mean anything because you're doing a side hustle, right? Like, you know, I went and worked for the city. Almost every person has a second job or a side hustle so that they can make ends meet. Almost every one of them, right? I just chose to do it with uh, t-shirts and inspirational quotes and stuff like that, right? So um, you still go into work and do the best possible job that you can do with the best possible attitude, right? Even though you want this side hustle to work out where it's your main hustle, right? You want, like, I want to sell 10 million t-shirts this year, right? For Insta sale. So that's the plan at $1 a t-shirt, that's $10 million and your life changes forever, right? If you did that. And say you only hit 100,000, that's 100 grand, right? And that's more than most incomes, right? But that's a great side hustle, right? If you did 1 million, that's $1 million, 500,000, But the goal, you set the goal 10x, and that's 10 million, right? So, but the reason you start the side hustle is because it's scalable, right? So, I have an online business, I do content, do services. It's not tied directly to hours, right? And so, I'm asleep, the ads are still running, finding people all over the world that would be interested in, the Intercell brand, right? And so uh, Meta has made it where you can reach, people's eyeballs for very, very cheap. And, you have to, the law of averages basically says they have to see your stuff 4 or 5 times before they actually get interested in it. So you just try to keep hitting them over and over and over with things that they want, right? And so, mindset, skill set, and habits, right? So if I wake up early every day, number one, to record a video like this, number two, to work on the business, number three, to exercise, be healthy, cook breakfast, stuff like that, right? So keep that in mind. Mindset, skill set, habits. We want to escape the 9 to 5, but we still work, as hard as we can we still work as hard as we can on the trade that we do that is our main job, our active income, right? Because if you lose your active income, you can't do the side business at all, right? All right, you don't have anything to invest in the side business, right? So once you start getting a little success, you do something what's called reinvest and scale, right? And so you reinvest into ads, you reinvest into automation, you reinvest into hiring people, streaming apps, apps that help you design clothing. There's plenty of stuff out there to reinvest and scale in, but basically that's what you do. You find something that's a winning product and then you scale it until it doesn't scale anymore, right? And then the biggest thing is on the back end, if you're making a business, right, is that number one, the product that you give is a good product, right? And so I have the best, highest quality shirt out there that you can have, right? And so I use the best inks, and I try to have my shipping times within, a week, 10 days. And obviously, I'm small time. I can't compete with Amazon and go 2 day shipping on stuff. Like, I can't do that. But, I can make sure that the quality is better, and I can make sure that the customer is appreciated, and that they're proud to wear my brand, right? And so this is how you escape a 9 to 5, right? And so if you're thinking about escaping a 9 to 5 and you need help doing that, you can hit me up for life coaching, which is down in the description below. But I'm the owner of Intercell, where 30,000 customers have chosen to become a part of our family, part of the Intercell family. and we hope that you do as well, right? So shop at InstaSell.com. Check out my wife's book, Dylan and Davina, The Adventure Begins, which is available on Amazon. She is a best-selling Amazon author. So Meredith Dylan Johnson, please check her out. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, share the video with somebody that needs it. And we look forward to see you tomorrow. Peace.